Yeah.
It's George.
It's Elaine.
Come on up.
Hey, Vinny, listen to...
I never heard anything like this in my life. Listen to this.
This is exciting! This is exciting! Huh? Did I miss anything already?
Kramer, get in.
Kramer! Where's the crazy man?
Hey, sit down. Come on, it's about to start.
Seldom do you see honest men like me, a gent of good intent, who's content to be master of the house, doling out the tom, ready with a handshake and an open palm.
Hello and welcome to Seincast, a retrospective on all 180 episodes of Seinfeld, being hosted by two guys who can barely run their own lives. His name is Vinny.
He's Matt.
What's going on, man? Anything new?
He's got nothing. No, I don't have anything.
I don't have anything either. We're really letting our fans down with
Scraping
our
the bottom of the barrel.
Maybe we can give you guys just a little bit of news here for this week. Jay Leno is being given the Mark Twain Prize for American Humor at the Kennedy Center in D.C. on October 19th. Jerry Seinfeld is going to be presenting at said award show. So this will be airing on November 23rd. So, it's about, at this point of recording, about 2.5 months away. But if everyone wants to check it out, there will be Jerry Seinfeld, as I mentioned, Wanda Sykes, Betty White, Chelsea Handler. So, yeah. Have you ever watched one of these before?
I remember watching Will Ferrell, his acceptance speech, and I believe Larry David was involved somehow. Because I was searching for Larry David clips on YouTube, and I remember him being in a tux at this gala, and he Will Ferrell was the one who won an award. But it was cool. It's always nice to see comedians, mixing it up, hobnobbing,
honoring one another, sort of, and just seeing all those funny people in one setting is always fun. Yeah.
Speaking of funny people, can I give you a list of the past winners?
Go ahead.
Okay. It looks like you were taking a drink there.
Yeah, sorry.
It looks like they first ran the show in 1998, and the first winner was Richard Pryor. Then we had Jonathan Winters, Carl Reiner, Whoopi Goldberg, Bob Newhart, Lily Tomlin, Lorne Michaels, Steve Martin, Neil Simon from Chapter 2.
Billy Martin.
Billy Crystal, George Carlin, Bill Cosby, Tina Fey, Will Ferrell, Ellen DeGeneres, and Carol Burnett.
Billy Martin. Sorry. My bad, sorry.
I'm done. No, it was good.
Yeah, this is always I don't set my DVR. Well, I don't have a DVR. I don't really tune into this every year, but usually if I hear that there'll be an interesting, guest presenter, I'll usually check it out either on PBS or online at some point. So yeah, guys, check this out. November 23rd on PBS. All right, Vinny, what episode are we going to be talking about today?
We be talking about the jacket today.
Gotta say, this is one of my absolute favorite episodes from season 2. I don't know really where it falls, in my my thoughts on the series as a whole, but this is one that I'm always very happy to watch, if only for the one-time appearance of Alton Bennis, Elaine's father. Really enjoy this episode. You feel the same way? I don't mean to get into our thoughts so early, but
sure. We're doing a 5-minute show today. We're already on our rating system. No, I like this one. I don't know if I'm as gaga over it. I don't know if I see Lawrence Tierney, the actor who played Elaine's father. I don't know if I see him as Elaine's father, because she's a strong, independent woman, but she's also got a nice soft side. I don't know if I see him being her father. I don't know if that's the reason that I'm not gaga over the episode like you are, but it among my favorites, it's not at the top.
Yeah, I can see that. These earlier episodes I think could be really polarizing with a lot of people, fans and the diehards and the casual fans. Just for whatever reason, there can be one scene that just sells episodes for people. For me, it's that whole just awkward humor in the hotel lobby that really does it for me this episode. But yeah, I can totally see where you're coming from.
There are definitely moments that shine, that are just quintessential moments in the series that we'll get into, which I love. But again, these are, every show is wonderful to me. So it's just, if you gave me a choice between the jacket and something else, I may choose the else.
How about we get into a little bit of the behind the scenes trivia before we get started? There's some I'm sure a lot of you might already know about this, but there's some fantastic trivia with Lawrence Tierney, but we could maybe save that till the end of the show. For right now, there's a little bit of setup with Larry David, right? This was an episode that was influenced heavily from his life.
Yes, taken directly from some real life Larry David experience. He was dating Monica Yates at the time, and she was actually the basis for Elaine, as we discussed earlier. Monica Yates was the daughter of famed author Richard Yates, who wrote such novels as...
I only know Revolutionary Road because of the movie, so...
I don't know any of his stuff.
I'm usually pretty well read, if you know what I mean, but I'm not really up on my Richard Yates novels, unfortunately.
Richard Yates came to town to meet Larry David, and they were staying at the Algonquin Hotel, and then they were going to go out to dinner. But Larry was very intimidated at the prospect of meeting this really brilliant author, and he had this brand new suede jacket. And he went to meet them, and then it started snowing. So he had to go outside in this brand new jacket, and he said in his interview, he said, that's the end of that jacket.
Yeah, this episode really is like beat for beat from Larry David's life.
And that's something the writers talk about later on, like Alec Berg and Jeff Schaefer. They talk about how when pitching an idea to Larry, the ideas that really stuck and really caught on were the ones that were taken from real life events. So I guess in the fact that it was believable, plus that it had an element of funny to it, and that's exactly what this situation was.
Yeah, it's interesting. I guess we'll never really know exactly like which episode, well, all the episodes that were pulled from his life. We know a lot of them just from a lot of interviews we read or watch online. But it seems like, I don't know, some of, at least my favorite scenarios were inspired by Larry's life, such as like the stakeout. The pony remark, I think, was based off of something. I don't know if we discussed that in the episode, but that was loosely based off an incident in his life. And here we go again with the, meeting your girlfriend's father. There's just something about Larry David where I really feel like he is the heart or the soul of the show, even though we don't really see him in front of the camera. This was also an episode that I noted a while back, and I saved it for this episode. Tom Sharonis, in an interview I saw on one of the DVDs, just a heads up, everyone, as usual, we're following the DVDs at home. If you don't own the DVDs, please go out and buy them. You can get them on Amazon or any online store, really. They're pretty cheap right now, and they've got just fantastic behind-the-scenes material on them. But in one of these interviews on the DVDs, Tom Sharonis, the director for the first, 4 or 5 seasons of Seinfeld, said that when he got the script for this episode, this was just one of many that he didn't get. He would say to himself, like, who cares what lining they have in this jacket? Why are these people so picky? And it wasn't until he was sitting in on the table reads and all of the actors would be saying their lines and just the whole room would be cracking up. So it's interesting to note how someone as close to the production as the director, Tom Sharonis, still didn't really get the humor of Seinfeld, probably as well as he did in later seasons. The show still felt to be pretty, if not experimental, definitely paving a new direction for TV comedy.
Perhaps he couldn't visualize just how absurd it was to have candy stripe lining in your jacket. A man's jacket.
Do you think it's a little weird? I kind of like the pink stripes.
I figured you would. It doesn't do anything for me.
I'm not a hipster by any means. I wouldn't wear it outside on purpose, for the attention factor. But I like something that's really classy and elegant on the outside, and the inside has something just a little, just a little wacky. It's like wearing colorful socks with a business suit.
Okay, it keeps you grounded.
Yeah, maybe.
All right.
Anyways, let's get started with our discussion of the jacket. This was the 5th episode of season 2, according to the order of episodes on our DVDs. This is sort of the production order, not the air date order that you'll find on Wikipedia guides online. This was written by Larry David and Jerry Seinfeld, directed by Tom Sharonis, who we just mentioned, and its original air date was February 6th, 1991.
Tommy C.
Should we refer to him from now on as Tommy C?
We can.
All right. First scene is stand-up. Jerry is in his usual spot at the mic, and he has this awesome bit. I think we could totally relate to this about how he hates his clothes, he hates buying them, he hates picking them out of his closet, he hates coming up with outfits for himself. This definitely feels like a first world problem.
Yeah.
But I think we all go through this. I think this is kind of the game that our consumer society has set up for us.
The game.
Get on my soapbox here.
There you go.
But it seems like we're right. Every season or so, you're ready to buy new outfits.
Oh, season meaning fashion season.
Oh yeah, not
the
the
show. I'm like,
not
what
the
they do in
show.
season 3? Yeah, and I agree. I hate having to pick out outfits and what's in. I like the t-shirt and jeans. That's a comfortable look for me.
Yeah. We actually, if anyone were to spot us out in the wild, we most of the time have the exact same outfit on.
That's true.
Said t-shirt and jeans. I feel like we
Yes.
look like a couple sometimes.
Yeah, well, not that there's anything wrong with that.
No, not at all, not at all. But you look fabulous, Vinny. You look fabulous.
Thank you. This is one of those bits, though, that I couldn't agree more with Jerry's view, and I feel like this is kind of a glimpse into his real psyche in his mind, because I've heard other comedians say that Jerry doesn't really let his true self come out in his comedy, because he's usually kind of just observing human nature and the minutia, as we always discuss, of daily life, but he doesn't really put out his true opinions or true feelings about life. If that comes across as clear, does that make sense?
Yeah, sort of. Well, you're saying like as a stand-up comedian, he has like bits that he works on. They might not necessarily be true. If he's like, oh, so I was at the bank the other day. You're saying like that kind of. Or are you saying he doesn't get into intimate details about himself?
That's what I'm saying. Because if you listen to somebody like Louis C.K. or Pete Holmes, for that matter, I'm on a big Pete Holmes kick lately, and I've been talking Matt's ear off about it.
You want to pimp his podcast?
Should I plug his show?
Not that he needs help from us.
No, it's called You Made It Weird, and it's a wonderful show. They talk about comedy, sex, and God. But Pete Holmes was heavily influenced by Seinfeld when he was getting his start. But they talk about how Seinfeld, he doesn't really get intimate with the audience, whereas Louis C.K., exactly how he feels regarding his relationships and his thoughts on religion. Granted, this is just Seinfeld riffing on clothes, but I'm like, oh, Seinfeld's not into getting dressed up. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I could see that.
Because if you look at him when he does Comedians in Cars, he's always wearing the same thing. He wears a dress shirt with jeans, sneakers, and a sport jacket.
I don't know if this is. I don't really know much about the history of stand-up and how it's evolved through the years, and what becomes fads. Like even George's says in the race episode when he's like, "Oh, you doing a lot of that? Did you ever notice?" type humor.
Yeah.
I'm sure for a time when Jerry was on his way up, that steep climb up, he probably made it really popular. The "Did you ever notice?" humor, but it seems like nowadays his kind of humor is very polished, very clean, whereas someone like a Louis C.K. or a Pete Holmes, or I don't know, most stand-ups for that matter, it seems like they're much more open and kind of their humor is sort of organic. It's not beat for beat the same scripted routine.
It's not a routine. Yes.
Yeah. I'm not saying they come up with new material on the spot. They of course work on it really hard, but it definitely seems to be a little more loose and fluid. Or not fluid, but more organic, I guess, in the way they deliver.
I feel like they're giving more of their true selves to the audience. That's kind of the impression I'm getting.
Yeah, we are obviously two people who we enjoy stand-up comedy, but we know nothing about the craft.
Yeah. Go ahead and fast forward to 4 minutes into the podcast.
Nodding off. So the rest of we're about 5 seconds into this episode.
Yep.
Oh God. There's in addition to this bit about how he hates his clothes, he does have this wonderful concept that in the future, fashion won't really exist because in movies and TV shows, people of the future or from another planet are all wearing the same thing: the one-piece silver jumpsuit, V-stripe, and boots. That's it. I really like this sort of visual. This image in my mind because I'm a big fan of the Twilight Zone, the original series from the 60s, and it sure enough, I feel like a lot of sci-fi programs didn't have the largest budgets in the world, so you see a lot of the same outfits coming back, such as the silver jumpsuit.
If you tell someone close your eyes and visualize a futuristic outfit, I feel like that's what they're gonna think of is V-stripes, silver suit and boots. Yeah. So he just hits the nail on the head. And I love the idea because it's a pain in the ass to pick out an outfit every day. So let's all wear the same thing.
You want to live in a nice conformist society?
We're a team. Yeah, we're Earth.
And of course, he adds on, he has to have his little like visual routine of in the future, all candidates will propose different outfits. There's no speeches; they just walk out, twirl, walk off, and you sit in the audience going, "Oh yeah, I could wear that."
Yeah.
You would prefer that, Vinny, as opposed to going to the mall?
Yes, I would.
First scene proper in this episode is at it's at a store, I guess, called Beau Brummel Sport. I had to look this up actually because it's a definitely like a New York exterior, so I had to see if it still exists. And the one I found was in Soho in New York, and it was on Broome Street and Worcester Street. I think it's relocated since filming because I went to the street view and it did not look like not only the same exterior, like the architecture is a little different. So it used to exist on 347 West Broadway between Watts Street and Catherine Lane, which is still in Soho, but that exterior looked a little different too. So unfortunately, we can't add this to our list of Seinfeld locations to visit in the city, Vinny. I know you're disappointed.
Damn. So we have Jerry and Elaine. They're in a clothing store. Jerry's doing some shopping. And Jerry says, "Oh, I think I've seen enough." And the salesman says, "Well, I might have something in the back." The salesman is played by Franz Turner. Matt, did you happen to know that he was actually the reporter, or he played a reporter in Ghostbusters?
No, I didn't.
Which I know you're a fan of.
Yeah, I just saw it actually the other night at a movie theater. There's a 30th anniversary. You were mentioning though this Franz Turner guy who plays the salesman was in Ghostbusters. I don't remember him, so he might have been like an extra, someone just in the background. I do know that even though it's a very small role in the show here, Ryan Stiles auditioned for this role. He is probably most known for Whose Line Is It Anyway? He sort of could be like a replacement for Michael Richards as Kramer, just in terms of appearance.
Oh yeah, very tall, very gangly. He's very good at contorting his face and making his eyes big. So he might have been a nice, addition to the cast.
They have to recast Michael Richards halfway through a season
in an alternate universe.
Yeah, this is my twin brother. Well, while the salesman goes to check the back, Elaine has this great bit about how the stores have never anything good in the back, and if they did, they'd put in the front. Which is, it took me a long time to realize this. Like, whenever I went into stores, I would always, like, if I couldn't find what I wanted, I'd assume it's in the back or it's in some room that they haven't put out yet. Do you feel this way, or is this...
I feel like as a kid, I agree, but nowadays when I go into a store and I say, "Oh, do you have any more of these?" the response I always get is, "This is all we have. This is all that's out."
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's... Does the salesperson not want to help me, or are they being honest?
Well, I think they're being honest, right? Because, real estate's cheap. You're probably going to want to put all of your products in, the biggest room of your store. Like, why would you have a room just as big in the back filled with more stuff? I don't know, but
hence that's why Jerry wants to open a store and call it Just Back.
I swear, for years, I always assumed he was saying not quote unquote just back. I thought he was saying and call it just quote back, so just be called back. I'll stop. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I've noticed there have been a lot of instances where we'll be talking about something and you completely misread it. As a kid, you're like, "Oh, I thought it meant this."
I wish you had an example, but
yes,
I totally mishear lines in TV shows and movies as a kid, and I make up
fill in the blanks.
Yeah, and so for years I think they said something that makes no sense whatsoever until slap me across the face and tell me what it was.
So then Jerry comes up with this great little bit that we're not sure if it's improvised or not, but he says, "Hey, Lane, look, Thai car wash," and he takes the tie rack and he goes over his pants.
Do you think it was an improv?
It looks like a genuine moment, and Julia gives a really great laugh, but she always does. So I don't know.
Yeah, her real laugh and her actress laugh are very similar. So it's sometimes hard to tell whether it's, not saying it's not genuine, but because she was known for cracking up quite a bit on the set.
Yes.
I like to think that this was totally made up by Jerry on the spot. There's a woman walking by Elaine who noticed the book that Elaine is holding, and she comments and says how much she loved it, and Jerry sets up that Elaine's father, Alton Bennis, wrote the book, and there's this little exchange back and forth. We understand that Elaine's father is this really famous author. I had to freeze frame this scene. That's the good thing about the DVDs. I think for right now, it's the highest quality of resolution for these episodes that we have access to. And I tried to read the book title on the spine of the book. Some of the behind the scenes trivia says that in the script, the title of the book Elaine is carrying is called King's Road. But
Wait, hold on. Before you go on, what
yeah.
was the name of Richard Yates's book?
Oh, Revolutionary Road. Yeah.
So is there a little similarity there?
Without a
I don't
doubt,
know.
yeah. No, I totally could see that, without a doubt.
But that's not what it shows on the book jacket that Elaine's holding.
No, now it has at least 4 words, and I could tell it's a quartet of blank. And we were talking about this briefly before we were
Yeah.
recording. I think we have different ideas of what the book title is,
I saw a quartet of friends.
and I saw a quartet of fools. So it's debatable. I can do a screen grab and throw it on our Facebook page for everyone else to decide, but. Either way, I kind of like it because it's a quartet of fools or friends. It's the Seinfeld Four, right?
Yeah, maybe it's telling about our personalities of how we look at the show.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, maybe. The lady, walks away, and Elaine reminds Jerry about a meeting with her father at the Hotel Westbury at 8 o'clock. George is going to come along with them, so they can all go out to dinner. And I thought this was interesting because I don't know. There has sort of been a theme of, hey, Jerry, would you come to something I have to do? Elaine, would you come to something I have to do? Kind of being that friend there. And more than anything, Elaine wants Jerry to be a buffer in the situation because she hasn't seen her father in a while, which is interesting. Like, it's quite a bit of character development. Elaine seems to have just some sad, I don't know, moments in her life. Like, she's not really close with her father. They're obviously estranged.
That's why she can't keep a job or land a man.
But I like this though, this idea of a buffer.
Yeah, and I wanted to kind of throw in that although it's not exactly the same, this is the first reference to the needing of a buffer, and they talk about the buffer zone. That's referenced a couple times later on in the show. In the shower head in season 7, Jerry's buffer zone went from 1,200 miles down to 2 feet when his parents want to move in with him, and then in a subsequent episode in The Money, season 8, George is basking in the buffer zone when his parents moved down to Del Boca Vista.
Right. It's a little different because that's more about like the distance between you and your parents, whereas with Elaine, while it is still termed or called a buffer, hers is more kind of to just help get over the awkwardness, I guess, of seeing her father, right?
Yes.
But Jerry, of course, is a little worried that he's not going to be able to talk to Alton because he's such a great writer, which this is just, again, pulled right from Larry David's life. And Jerry has this great line, which might be one of my absolute favorite lines from this entire series. Jerry says, frankly, I prefer the company of nitwits, which I don't know why that cracks me up so much. It's not
it's true.
Yeah, it really is. Jerry would never hang out with someone like Alton Bennis, or really Elaine for that matter. Sometimes I feel like Elaine is probably the smartest one of the group, and she gets a little weird. Why is she hanging out with these 3 losers to varying degree? But yeah,
various times throughout the show, she's like, I got to get some new friends, so she knows and she wants out.
Right. Oh, and there's a line here where she responds saying, "Oh, so that's why we're not together anymore." So case in point being, she is a lot, probably, I don't know, of a higher class than he is, maybe more intellectual.
Yeah. There's more of that playful digging and ribbing at each other, the post breakup, and that's why we're not together.
We've been tracking this for a while, yeah, since the what was it, the stock tip, I think, when he was kind of making fun of her getting broken up by a guy who chose his cats over her, and she makes fun of Jerry's breakup with Vanessa over a perfume. But yeah, this is great. It's kind of like a flirtatious little thing they have going here, and I love the Jerry pulling the knife out of his back too. I completely forgot about that moment in this episode, but we use that.
We do that all the time. Yeah.
Jerry notices a jacket nearby. It's beautiful, fits him perfectly, a nice soft suede jacket, and he comments that this might be the most perfect jacket he has ever put on, but Elaine notices the price.
Yeah, she looks at the label and says, "Oh my God." And Jerry responds, "Is it bad?" And I feel like I'm just recapping the entire scene, but you have no idea. I think I have some idea. No idea. I have a ballpark. There is no ballpark, and the team has relocated.
I like that bit. I like how they when they can go kind of like back and forth. Like,
Yes.
she's just as clever and witty as Jerry is at times.
It feels very Abbott and Costello or Three Stooges, that team dynamic of comedy.
What do you think the jacket costs, though? I mean, maybe it's too early to make our final judgment, but at least a couple hundred, right? I think we can
I would
establish that
say,
here.
yeah, I would guess over 500 just based on this interaction right now.
Yeah.
We'll get a little bit more clarity, not much, but a little bit more in a later scene.
Right. Yeah, I guess we can save a discussion for then. Jerry does notice, though, the pink lining, as we mentioned earlier. It's kind of like a candy cane stripe. And, he's debating whether he should get it or not. And the salesman, of course, comes up and tells him how wonderful it looks on him. So I think Jerry's sold. Next scene is at Jerry's apartment, and of course I like this. He's sitting on the couch in his PJs, he's got like his slippers on, and he's wearing the jacket, and I got like just an immediate like vision of the pilot episode, like Jerry at home. He's got his cereal right next to him. He's just watching TV in his sweats. He really kind of turns into a little kid the way he moves in this scene.
He's very content and happy with himself, and I remember that feeling of being a kid. You either got like a new toy or something new was brought home, and you're just so excited to play with it or just be around it that it brightens up your entire day. So he's got this brand new designer jacket on over sweatpants, a t-shirt, and those little slippers he's wearing.
Right, and did you notice when he gets up to check it out in the mirror? That mirror that he looks, it just kind of shows up out of nowhere. I never noticed
What mirror?
I never noticed this mirror before in his apartment. I guess it's there for this episode only, or maybe he moved it so he could check himself out.
That's what I would think. It was in his bedroom, and then he brought it out because he was so excited.
We got Kramer entering the scene here, and he's admiring the jacket and points out the pink lining again. That's a little hint for how that pays off at the end. And of course, this is just, I don't know if we've had a Kramer doing this before, but he's asking how much it costs. Was it over 300? Jerry says yes, over 400, and that's when Jerry kind of doesn't want to talk about it anymore, which makes me think that the jacket was at least 300, right? Like, that's obvious.
Well, he admits to it being over 300.
Right. So we know that, and since Jerry was okay saying 300 just right out the gate, makes me think that, this is just me kind of making it up, that I think was going into buying it thinking it was 300, or maybe even more than 300.
I would say since he's willing to tell Kramer or admit to Kramer that it's 300, perhaps doubling it would be the actual price. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, it's, again, there's no way to figure it out, but we're trying to get as close as possible here. Yeah. Kramer sees the price, though, and he's, like, whoa, Nelson. Now, we don't know what Kramer's financial standing is. Like, I don't know if this means, like, it's really expensive or if it's just expensive for someone like Kramer who might
probably
not
just
have
a high
lot of
number.
money. And Kramer, being the mooch he is, asks what he's going to do with the old one. Says Jerry says he's probably not going to wear it. And how does Kramer do this? He's kind of like
looking across the room, and he's kind of like a kid who's kind of like looking, you just put the pie on the windowsill kind of thing, and he's eyeballing it, and then he nudges Jerry, not even looking at Jerry. He's still got his eyes on the jacket. He's like, what are you going to do with the old one? And Jerry is onto him from the get-go. He knows exactly what Kramer's doing, and they're kind of just dancing around the obvious of, well, if you're not going to use this old jacket, I'll take it off your hands.
I feel like this is a little bit of just like a character interaction that we see throughout the series. Kramer kind of acting a little naive, a little dumb, maybe on purpose, maybe not, and Jerry kind of plays with him a little bit and really kind of like squeezes it out of him, like really what he wants.
Either way, it's good karma for Jerry, or so we think.
Kramer puts on his jacket, and they both admire themselves in the mirror. I like this shot of just like the two of them standing there.
Oh, baby.
I gotta say though, really, what is the purpose of this scene? Because nothing really happens in it in terms of really like moving the plot forward. Like, Jerry still has his jacket. He talks to someone about how expensive it was. There's pink lining.
I think there's a purpose. I think it's kind of setting up for the eventual downfall that's gonna come to Jerry, because now right now he's got the jacket. Kramer's got a jacket, but then at the end, Jerry's going to be without his jacket, Kramer's going to have both jackets. So it makes it even twice as the knife is twice as deep.
You're saying that.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, it's setting up the fact that when spoilers, but when Jerry's jacket gets ruined, like he's out 2 jackets now.
Yeah. Well, and who do they go to? They both go to Kramer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So like Jerry gave away one jacket. Now he's giving away another one that he can't even wear.
Yeah.
And Kramer doesn't even think to give Jerry back his old jacket. He just says, "Oh, it's too bad you gave me this one too."
Yeah.
Got to do something about that lining though. You know what I mean? So it like.
I guess what I'm getting at is like this is. I mean, not that we've had a ton of episodes like we know where Kramer is front and center, but this just seems like another like scenario where Jerry, George, and Elaine all have like main stories going on, and Kramer's is sort of secondary to theirs, where he's just he has like a few beats that sort of affect Jerry and sort of affect Elaine, but he's not integral to the main plot.
I was just thinking how funny it would have been if Kramer had gone to dinner with Jerry, Elaine, George, and Alton Bennis, because I'm sure Kramer and Alton Bennis would have gotten along splendidly.
Yeah, which is just, we can get into this later, but just another reason why I just wish Alton Bennis, the character, showed up in more episodes than just this one.
Yeah.
He's not like the greatest character maybe the show's ever had, but I feel like Lawrence Tierney brought a lot to the character, and it was just so awkward and tense in the lobby scene that you could have seen him share a scene with like Frank Stiller as Jerry Stiller as Frank Costanza and Kramer for that matter. Like he really could have had great scenes with other characters.
I do envision Lawrence Tierney wrapping his hands around Kramer's neck at some point. You know what I mean? They'd come to a front.
Right. Or maybe Kramer could bring out like a more like like a funny childlike side of Alton Bennis, but
yeah,
as we'll talk about later, I don't think you can really break that shell of Lawrence Tierney. He's pretty tough through and through. Next scene is still at Jerry's apartment, but it's either later that night or the next day. Jerry's kind of in the same position in front of the mirror, no jacket on this time. He's putting on his tie, and George enters the apartment singing "Master of the House," which. Is this the first like official song in Seinfeld proper?
It depends on what you define as official song, I would say.
Right. So I would say like an official song is something like Downtown, which we get in a later episode, or Lemon Tree when he has to sing that to Jerry to let him know that he's coming back into the room. I only ask because I've always wanted to put together a Seinfeld soundtrack with all of the songs ever, like that appear on the show or mentioned by title. What other songs came before this, would you say?
Well, in The Ex-Girlfriend, George sang "And I Go From Nuts to Nothing," which was the Tony Bennett song.
Right.
And then I think we also mentioned a bit of trivia was that the song Tom's Diner by Suzanne Vega was inspired by the show, or at least not the show, but by Tom's Diner. I'm not sure when that actually came out, but these are all related to Seinfeld in a way.
Right. I guess it doesn't have to show up as like, Master of the House is like featured heavily in this episode, so that would be like an obvious choice. But I have seen a few soundtracks online, just created by fans, and they all seem to be pretty similar. No one's really gone the extra mile and done something like put Nods to Nothing or Tom's Diner on an album. So maybe we can start a playlist going here.
All right, sir.
Have you ever seen Les Mis?
I have not. I did not see when the movie came out, nor have I seen it on Broadway. Or it's a book, right?
Yeah, well, it was a book, and then it became, I think, kind of before a musical. I think it was an opera of some sort, and then eventually became a musical.
I didn't realize it opened on Broadway in 1987. That's so recent. It seems.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say it's like as like cheesy and commercial as like most Broadway shows nowadays, like a Wicked or Lion King, because it's pretty like serious subject matter, but it is pretty modern, I would say, and pretty catchy too, as George admits here, right? It's like the song "Master of the House" is stuck in his head. He saw it last week, and he's just he's singing it in elevators, on buses, in front of clients, and it's taking over his life. And at this point, Jerry tells him about Schumann went mad.
You mean Artie Schumann from Camp Hachibi?
No, you idiot.
What are you calling me an idiot for?
What are you, Bud Abbott?
There you go.
Are you gonna? Have you seen the show?
Haha, there it is. Of course, you get to use that line, not me. But yeah, this
We
is
should
the first-
explain to our listeners actually
yes.
how often I misquote the show or don't understand what you're quoting, and you usually ask me that, right?
I say, have you seen the show? And the reason I say that is not because I'm an ass, is because in one of the bloopers, Julia cannot remember her lines, and she needs to, look at a script. And Jason looks up at her and he says, "Have you seen the show?" And it makes Julia laugh, and that always tickles me. So I say it to Matt in real life when he flubs a line, but then Matt thinks I'm this colossal jerk. So of course Matt gets me now when it's recorded to digital audio forever.
Yeah, I know.
Thank you.
Sorry. Well, I'm the jerk now, so.
Yeah.
I do like this little mention of, again, you know how I complain about little things that annoy me on this show? George's attitude, like that look on his face when he's like, "What are you, Bud Abbott? What are you calling me an idiot for?"
Yeah.
There's just some look on his face, that expression and his tone. It just really gets under my skin there. I can't explain it. Bud Abbott, of course, of Abbott and Costello, and Jerry has said, I think in an interview that I read somewhere, or maybe it was on the behind the scenes trivia, that George's middle name is Lewis, and that comes from Louis Costello. So neat little pull from that comic duo.
So anyway, Jerry explains to George, no, it's Robert Schumann, the composer.
I think it's Schumann, but George doesn't want to sound like an idiot, so he's like, "Oh, Schumann."
Yeah. Which isn't the first time they do this joke in Seinfeld. Well, when they do these twists on names and they pronounce it one way, the person doesn't get it, and then they pronounce it a different way, and then they say, "Oh, yeah, I get it."
Oh, I know what you're gonna say, yeah.
Yeah, but the Artie, Levine, I just think those are similar types of jokes. And then we got Rebecca De Mornay. Am I missing anyone else?
Witchy woman.
Witchy woman. Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, it's a fun little gag that pops up throughout the series.
And this composer, Robert Schumann, who was a German composer, a pianist actually, he went crazy from not being able to get the A note out of his head, and he had to be institutionalized.
That'd be a great trivia question when you do trivia in New York.
What's that?
Which note could Robert Schumann not get out of his head?
I think it was an A. Yeah. This, of course, gets George really upset, especially because he can't get the song out of his head. George really gets neurotic here. He starts getting worked up and really anxious over this possibility, I guess, of having to be institutionalized. Do you think Jerry, there's not a lot of evidence of it here, but do you think he's messing with George? He knows that he's going to get upset if he gives them this little bit of trivia?
Yeah, I think so. I think he plants the seed because he'll talk about in the heart attack episode. He's like, I told him not to watch this show, Coronary Country. It was going to keep him up all night, And then he saw something about, I forget, starving people, and then he ate like an animal for 2 weeks or something,
Yeah.
But yeah, and then later on in the series, it's even more apparent that Jerry likes sticking it to George, as everyone does.
So George, can't believe that they're going to meet with Alton Bennis that night, and Jerry, both of these guys feel like they're not ready to meet with someone like him. Jerry thinks he's going to see right through them, and George thinks he's going to be looking at them like he's backstage at a puppet show. Not exactly sure what that means. Do you have any idea?
No, I don't. When you see marionettes or puppets and they're dangling and you see the strings, you can tell they're fake. So I think that's my impression, is that Alton Bennis is just going to be looking at these two idiots, dangling in front of him. That's kind of the impression.
Or maybe behind the scenes that this is completely fake. These guys aren't who they appear to be. Maybe. So Jerry puts his jacket on and he, struts over to the room to George, and it just reminded me a little bit of Tony, the Mimbo.
Yeah,
from
Tony.
season 5. Yeah,
Hunky Tony.
He pops the collar and kind of does that that old greaser kind of move.
Yeah. And then George says, "When did this happen?"
Which is such a great expression. I don't know. I doubt this show came up with that term, but I think Elaine mentions that at some point. She's like, "When did this happen?" And he goes, "Yesterday, 6-ish." Oh,
Yeah.
when he's Gaga for Pam.
Yes. But it's an interesting way of asking a question as opposed to, oh, when did you buy that?
Yeah.
Like, when did this happen?
Yeah, I like that a lot. Jerry goes on this little monologue here about how the jacket's completely changed his life, and when he leaves the house, it's a whole different experience. I'm sorry, it brings a whole different confidence. And I kind of know what he's talking about here. Maybe everyone does when you have either like, whether it's a jacket or a shirt that fits you the right way, like I struggle with, or maybe like a certain watch or who knows what, where you just get that little, I don't know, like you're wearing armor of some sort.
Well, the expression, the clothes make the man.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is one of those instances where he feels great. And I agree with him completely because I have trouble buying shirts, either that they're too long in the torso.
That don't make you look high-waisted.
There you go. Or they're too, the sleeves are too short or too long. But when you find that shirt that fits just right, you feel like $1,000,000.
And George has, I think this is one of the just best lines in the entire episode.
George says, can I say one thing to you? And I say this with an unblemished record of staunch heterosexuality. It's fabulous.
It's just so good. This is another line that's just, it gets into that.
Is this the second moment already that we've seen where he says, there's like a reference to being homophobic?
Yeah, or at least like he's a little just insecure that
Yeah.
people are either going to think he's gay or maybe he might have some homosexual thoughts. I don't know.
Yeah, because in the ex-girlfriend, he doesn't want to sit up front next to Jerry. He doesn't want it to be boy, boy, girl. And Elaine says, you don't want to sit next to a man, don't you? You're a little homophobic, aren't you? And he says, is it that obvious?
Maybe at this point it's not, like we haven't got to the note yet when he gets the massage from Ray or Raymond. And right now it seems more like he's concerned about what other people think of him, which might all be the two sides of the same coin.
That's George.
Yeah. George does want to know though, but he isn't going to ask, how much it was. And this is really where we get to the heart of the matter, and where we can probably narrow down what the price was. He asks 400, 500, over 600. Don't tell me you paid $700 for this. Over 700. 1,000, and
you are sick.
Yeah, it just keeps on going. Like he gets so worked up, and Jerry the whole time isn't saying anything, right?
No, he's stone-faced. He doesn't even acknowledge what George is saying, and George ratchets himself up in terms of intensity, and he works himself into a tizzy. But the funny thing I found was that George is the complete opposite of Kramer. Kramer immediately wants to know, has no qualms about asking, and then when Jerry turns him down, he just looks at the label and says, "Oh, whoa, Nelson." But George puts on the facade of, I'm not going to ask. You'll tell me when you're comfortable. So what was it, 400? So, it's a nice contrast between Kramer and George, how they did that.
Right, like Kramer will look at it and he won't, really do anything after the fact. With George, it's like, is he just curious because he wants to know what kind of money like Jerry makes or he spends, or is he like, is it coming from a sense of insecurity? He's like, could I afford a jacket like this? I don't really know where this anxiety is coming from, really, in a sense.
It might be just human curiosity. I think in this situation, people would like to know, but they're not going to act the way George did.
Yeah.
So this is maybe they always talk about, like, Larry David had the perfect puppet to reenact how he would like to act in real life, but he couldn't because of social constructs. So maybe this is what he would like to do in real life, but he couldn't, perhaps.
Now, do you have like a ballpark, at least what you think the price of the jacket was, just from like this scene with George?
My guess would be between $500 and $600.
Yeah.
Just because he said yes to 300, and then he stopped there. But yeah, who knows? What do you think?
Oh, I don't think it's over 700 for whatever reason, because I think Jerry at that point is just enjoying it. And I think he wants George to keep on going because it's not that high, and he just enjoys seeing him get more and more stressed out. But if something, I just get a vibe for whatever reason when Kramer asked 300, Jerry just seemed really like, yes, it was 300 or more than 300, because maybe that's what Jerry thought it was going into it. Maybe safe to say it was double that. Yeah, $600, somewhere between 6 and 7.
This actually has me thinking as we analyze in excruciating detail all these stupid things,
Stupid podcast. Stupid.
apologies for this. But every week we're like, what did this hypothetical jacket cost on a TV show that's been off the air for 17 years? But like we always ponder, if we were so fortunate enough to meet Larry David, we're always like, if we could have lunch with Larry David, whatever, what question would you ask him? This could be like, how much did you pay for that suede jacket you bought when you went out with Monica Yates? Like that could be a question. We always want to ask a question that nobody else has asked him before, and something that would really make him go, huh.
Or
So
maybe
maybe
maybe he'd be like, I don't know, what are you asking me this for?
be like, get this guy out of here.
Yeah, if that day ever comes, having lunch with Larry David, I don't even know if I'd be able to go to the meeting. I'd be so I'd be so nervous. I'd make myself sick probably.
Well, the funny thing is they lived that out on a Curb episode where a guy paid a charity to have lunch with Larry David, and Larry David ended up being the one having the anxiety about the lunch because this guy paid like $4,000 to sit and have lunch with him.
The creator of Seinfeld.
Yeah, exactly. So Larry David, like, he was over the top and like doing little dances and singing Tippecanoe and Tyler too, a president and a king. And then the guy that bought the lunch actually didn't even want to be with Larry because Larry was so obnoxious. So it's perfect.
That might be the best Larry David experience, right? Like where you go into this thinking he's going to be like just so interesting and entertaining, and he just really annoys you.
Yeah.
I mean, I doubt his Curb character is the same. I'm sure it's similar to real life, but I can't imagine he would be that obnoxious and unlikable in real life. Kramer enters the scene and immediately asks for a solid, which I think I learned that term from this episode. Not now, but years ago. The idea of a friend doing a solid for you. He needs someone to sit in a car for 2 minutes while he's double parked. He needs to run up to a friend's apartment who has some birds, doves to be specific, and take care of them while, said friend is on vacation. A magician friend is on vacation.
Now, wouldn't it be nice if Larry David would have assigned one of his friends' names to this magician friend? It's a nameless magician, but not like a Bob Sacamano or a Corky Ramirez. It would have been nice if there was a name to go along with this magician.
Especially because like Kramer has just so many friends that we never see, and they have the weirdest names in the world. Does that kind of bug you a little bit that it's just magician friend?
Yeah.
Yeah. Gets you really really upset.
Yeah. I'm peeved. I get mad.
I like to see you get mad. George and Jerry, tell him that they can't help him out because they're going to go out to meet Lane's father for dinner, and Jerry has this great line about Kramer, which I think really it sums up the character, or at least one facet of his life really well. He says, he understands Kramer's 2 minutes. By Kramer's conception of time, his life will last over 2,000 years.
Mm-hmm. That is a wonderful line.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think we're all a little guilty of that. I think my life probably would be somewhere around 500 years by my concept of time. This does sort of remind me a little bit though of when Kramer. What was he? Did he see a documentary about Leonardo da Vinci?
He either saw a documentary or read the biography.
That he would, kind of take these micro naps throughout the day, and it would equate to being maybe just like a couple of hours,
and 3 hours of sleep.
Right,
so
spread across the day.
Mm-hmm.
And he would extend his lifetime.
My brain is mossy.
I cannot. It's going to be really weird when we get to those later episodes, because it's like, at least with these older episodes, like I think it's really easy to get through these plot details because they're so heavy with dialogue and information, whereas later it's so hard to talk about.
We'll just be dissecting jokes.
Yeah, because the jokes are so dense the scenes are so dense with jokes in later seasons that it's going to be interesting to see how that goes.
It will be a fun challenge.
Yes.
Hopefully we're still on the air.
On the air. Yeah, we haven't been canceled.
One other thing I forgot to add was when George is, ratcheting up 400, 500, can't be 6, 7. He's like, I'm going to walk out of here thinking you did pay over $1,000. And then he looks back at Jerry. Jerry says nothing. And then I think George says his first "ho-ho," and then he walks out. So that's something I wanted to bring up because I like to keep track. Well, not keep track, but
No, I'm sorry. I was talking so much there. Yeah, that's George's ho-hos are. I mean that's like a quote in of itself. Like I guess these characters don't really have quotes. Maybe like George was getting upset.
A signature like Michael with his and
Yeah.
his Elaine with her get out and I don't know.
I love the ho-hos though.
Yeah.
Let's see. Next scene is at the Hotel Westbury, which I think we spend quite a bit of time here.
Almost the rest of the episode.
Almost, yeah. There is a Hotel Westbury at Madison Avenue and 69th Street in Manhattan. I only mention that because there's a bit of a contradiction later when they leave to go to a restaurant. I'll bring it up later. It's not that important.
Yes, it is.
I just have to mention it though, because whenever people talk about like streets and like distance, that I don't know why I get really interested in. Is that entirely accurate? If you have to walk, like 10 blocks, is it really only going to take you 2 minutes? It's going to take a little bit longer. Anyways,
You'd be a good continuity guy on a show.
oh God, it doesn't matter really. Most people don't know unless they are sad enough that they have to look up the actual location of the Westbury Hotel.
To wit.
George and Jerry enter the hotel lobby, and George, of course, is singing "The Master of the House." And I like this. Jerry just taps him on the shoulder and says, "Schumann." And they don't see Alton Bennis at this point. They're looking for him. It's not that big of a lobby, but they don't see him. And I like how George just gets this urge to, all right, let's go.
Yeah.
He's not here. And he has that great line, there's never been an appointment in his life where he wanted the other guy to show up. And my God, I've had a few of those in my life.
Yeah.
I don't know about you.
Yeah,
But
you get nervous for an interview or a meeting or something, and you get all dressed up. You make the drive to this location you've never been before. And then there's something in the back of your mind that you're like, if it was canceled, I wouldn't be that upset.
Yeah.
I could go to lunch and go back home and get back in bed. Like, yeah, I get it totally.
Right. And they notice Alton Bennis sitting there, but they don't see Elaine. And even though she's not there as sort of they might be a buffer for her, but she's definitely a buffer for them.
She's the nucleus in this situation.
Definitely. And they introduce themselves anyways. Right out the gate, Alton Bennis has this like coughing fit.
Mm-hmm.
And he tells them to sit down, and
George's hand recoils in horror because he goes to shake his hand, and then there's the cough.
yeah, it's just like oof. They order drinks right at this point.
Jerry gets a cranberry juice with 2 limes, and George gets a club soda with no ice.
Do you subscribe to the George notion that you get more without the ice?
Love the no ice. Well, I love it for one, you get more, and then 2, there's no chance of your drink being watered down because there's no water in it.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't have soda often, but when I go to a movies and I get the number 2, I want my cherry Coke with no ice.
No ice. Yeah. No, I can subscribe to this definitely. If I'm like at Starbucks and I'll get an iced coffee, they put so much freaking ice in those cups to the point where I feel like you're only getting like a few ounces of coffee. So
Yeah.
yeah, I definitely do ask for the light ice.
Contrast that with Alton Bennis, who gets scotch with plenty of ice.
Right.
Do you like ice?
This is just right out the gate. George is just asking the wrong questions. Like Alton Bennis is not, let's say, a people person. And maybe at this point, I don't know if this is okay if we just kind of leave the story here for a second. We could talk a little bit about Lawrence Tierney. He was an actor. Dating all the way back to the 1940s, I believe. He was known for playing tough guys in movies and TV shows. You would say, right, Vinny, like from what we've heard and read, that what you get in this episode is what you get in real life as well.
It's not as if he's not playing a character. He's just being himself, similar to the way that Jerry plays himself on the show.
Mm-hmm. But at least with Jerry, like he would get the idea of emotion and I don't know, like a range. Whereas Lawrence Tierney, I feel like you would hire him to be in a movie because you know he's the same in everything he's in.
We need a tough guy who doesn't smile and's really scary.
And sure enough, I think probably most of our listeners, at least I know him best from Reservoir Dogs, the Quentin Tarantino's movie, his first movie, I believe. And that actually came out a year after this episode, so he might have been filming Reservoir Dogs maybe like around the same time as this episode, which is kind of interesting. In that he sort of plays the I don't know, he's not a mob boss, but he's kind of the one high up on the food chain who gets all these guys together to pull off a bank heist. Now, you you were telling me a little bit about when they were filming these scenes, like the crew would, just be cracking up at Lawrence.
They found Lawrence Tierney's lines to be very funny, and he was not amused at this. I think it kind of upset him in a way, and it had to be explained to him that, hey, this is a situation comedy. This is what you want to happen. So then I think he settled down after that.
Right. It reminds me a little bit of kind of like Len Lesser, which we talked about during the Pony Remark, Uncle Leo, when he auditioned for his role. He would just say these lines which aren't on paper aren't funny at all, but the way he would deliver it, and it just cracked up Larry and Jerry so much, and he didn't get it.
And only Len Lesser could deliver those lines as Uncle Leo. Like, Uncle Leo will forever be Len Lesser's,
Mm-hmm. And to be fair for Lawrence Tierney here, like, I could see why he didn't think this was funny, because he's not the one who's being funny. It's that contrast with George and Jerry in this scene. They're just
the tension.
Yeah, the tension. The fact that this guy is just the exact opposite of Jerry and George. I mean, and we'll get into this a little bit later, but it's safe to say that Jerry, maybe not Jerry so much, but George and Julia and a lot of the crew were quite scared of Lawrence Tierney. The scene continues, though, with just more awkward sort of like back and forth with Jerry and George. They're talking about where Elaine is. Like, usually she's really punctual, and sometimes she's late. they just don't know what to settle on exactly.
Isn't it funny how when you say something to someone, you're not really familiar with them, but you make a point, but then they don't respond to that point. And then you find a need to contradict what you just said. So, like, in this instance, George says, usually she's pretty punctual. Sometimes she's late. You know what I mean? Like, you completely go back on what you just said.
You're, like, fishing for just some reaction from this person. Just
a reaction, or just make a sound. Give me something.
Disagree.
Yeah.
The awkward conversation continues, and Alton mentions how it looks like rain. So he's contributing. He's... He's a conversationalist.
It looks like rain.
And George is like, that's what they said.
Who said?
What is it about the term they that gets Alton all worked up?
Well, I kind of agree with him. Well, actually, I don't agree with him. But he's the first one to actually, like, analyze it. Why? Who's they? When someone else says, oh, did you hear what they said? Mm-hmm. You just, oh, okay, he got this from a source. We don't have to delve into it, but he heard from somebody.
I don't know why this this also sounded so weird, the way George says Dr. Waldo. Like,
it sounds fake.
Yeah, it sounds weird. I don't,
I'm sure that was a real meteorologist back in the 90s, but
yeah, I'm not. Nothing's coming up on Google, so it sounds like it was made up name. Alton responds to this just saying, I don't need anybody to tell me it's going to rain. All I have to do is stick my head out the window. And we get this great moment where Jerry and George they're just totally in sync with each other. They lean forward and take a drink at the same time.
Anything to break up the awkwardness.
Yeah.
Whether it's taking a drink or, as we'll see, running to the bathroom.
Right. I guess right before that, which makes him want to leave, is this line. I don't really know how funny this is on paper, but the scene just captures it perfectly. Alton asks who the funny one is, and Jerry says, or George points at Jerry, and Jerry's like, I'm just a normal person. And what does Alton say here?
We had a funny guy with us in Korea, tail gunner. They blew his brains out all over the Pacific. There's nothing funny about that.
And doesn't he, he's kind of lost for a moment, and when he says that last part...
staring straight ahead, he's not even looking at them.
Doesn't he, look back at them, though, really quickly, when he's like, there's nothing funny about that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
God, this is just so good. It's really tough, I think, to capture awkward humor. In contrast to an episode, The Busboy, that we covered 2 weeks ago. I had issues with that episode because there's awkward moments, but I didn't find them very funny between George and the busboy.
They were more tense, and it was more serious, I think.
Yeah, it's similar but different enough. There's something about this scene, again, awkward, tense, but I just find this...
Why is there levity? Why is there levity to this scene versus the one with Kramer and George in the busboy's apartment. Perhaps is it the stakes are different, whereas in the busboy, you have this busboy lost his job. George was afraid that he was actually going to hurt him.
Yeah, there's more of a threat, whereas with this, it's
we're uncomfortable because we're talking to this intimidating father while his daughter's running late.
And this is relatable too. Like, who out there hasn't been in a situation where like you're having an awkward conversation with someone that you're not really like, clicking with, and you're there on your own in a sense. Like the one person, like you said, that would be the nucleus is missing.
Yeah, or even meeting a girl. I was thinking of like meeting a girlfriend's father for the first time. You want to make a really good impression.
Yeah. Jerry just excuses himself to go to the bathroom, and I like this moment. George kind of grabs his jacket as he walks off, and Jerry just rips it out of his hand.
And I think as Jerry is getting up, you see that smirk, that trademark smirk of his when he's enjoying the bit just as much as the audience is. You see his face kind of start to crack, and he gets up, and George reaches for his jacket. Jerry rips it away, and then he goes to the bathroom.
I don't always like it when characters break, but there's something about Jerry. I mean, because he's a stand-up comedian. Like, that's his profession, is to make people laugh. And if he's laughing, it's a good bit or a good joke, what have you. While Jerry's in the bathroom, George, as you mentioned earlier, actually, how much he enjoyed Fair Game, and he thought it was brilliant.
Drivel.
Well, maybe, some parts.
What parts?
Sound like Batman.
Yeah, wait a second. So we don't really plan for these little routines here where we quote the episode, but should we do that? Should we just do instead of recapping the episodes, just play all the characters? Yeah, I like that. George kind of goes into lie mode here because I like this. He thinks he can handle Alton Bennett's on his own. You know what I mean? Like, Jerry's gone. He's like, I think I can try to handle this guy. And with that one bit of what parts, George just kicks into lie mode, and he says he has to. He forgot he has to make a phone call, and he just walks off. Not one of his best lies, but still gets him out of there.
We're in the bathroom now. Jerry is washing his face, and George pokes his head in and says, "Thanks for leaving me out there with him." And Jerry's like, "That was brutal. I'm not going back out there."
Again with the laughing, right?
Yes, he got a big smile on his face. And George, again, suggests we should leave. That's the second time now he wants to get out of there and leave Elaine high and dry with her father. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's why Elaine dislikes him so much.
Like, Jerry is being considerate. He's like, this isn't fair to Elaine if we do this. Yeah. And George is
hell
like,
with Elaine.
Yeah. He's like, oh, what are we going to say? And he's like, we say we're frightened and we have to go home. I kind of feel like Elaine would understand, though, why they would leave. Because it is really tough. Oh,
yeah. To deal, especially like if your dad is friendly and accommodating, then yeah, you could spend all day with him. But when he's like this, so yeah, George says and they're going to give him 10 more minutes, and if she doesn't show, they're going to go.
George has a really weird moment here, right, where he's just coming up with ideas of like what to tell Alton Bennis, and George is
excuses,
like, excuses, and he's like, tell him, start scratching and tell him that he has crabs.
Can you imagine that visual of just Jerry like gnawing at himself? He's like, I gotta go, man. It's itchy down here.
It's probably one of the worst ideas George has ever come up with. Just since Alton was in the military, he'll understand. Which I get that joke. I guess sailors or whatnot, like going from port to port, maybe. But
it's filthy beggars.
Yeah. It's just a bad idea, and I guess they don't use it. They decide to stick it out, right? Next scene is a little bit of stand-up here, and this isn't, I don't know, like, this is alright, I guess. I don't know if you feel the same way, but the idea is that, all fathers are intimidating because they're fathers, and after having kids, all fathers think, the hell with the world, I can make my own people, I'll eat whatever I want, I'll wear whatever I want, and I'll create whoever I want.
I actually really like that line of, the hell with the world, I'll create my own people. Every time I meet somebody who's a dad, I'll use that line, and I'm just ripping off Seinfeld.
There you go.
But they always laugh. They always find it funny.
That's what happens here. You're just a big phony, right? You're just quoting other people.
I'm a big phony baloney. But I always give credit where credit's due. I was like, that's from Seinfeld, just so you know. But it's true. You made your own people.
Yeah, it's true. It is true, but it definitely feels like, as we've pointed out throughout all these episodes, these little, little stand-up bits in between scenes definitely feel like they've been written for the show, not that they're part of Jerry's, actual stand-up. But it's a nice little break, though, because we are bouncing between the lobby and the bathroom quite a bit. That this is a nice little breather before Jerry and George walk back into the lobby and sit down with Alton. And Alton, right out the gate, calls George out, actually, and says, "Who did you call?"
Now he wants to make conversation.
He's really just calling people out on stuff, what parts, who said, who'd you call?
Yeah, my uncle.
A hotel clerk approaches Alton Bennis and gives them a message, which says that Elaine got tied up and won't be there for 30 minutes. And we get another little moment where George and Jerry just sip at the same time, which is just such a great visual moment of awkwardness, of get me out of here.
That would make a good GIF.
Yeah. Now we return to the lobby after the commercial break, and Jerry and George look pretty fried, right? What is Alton talking about here?
We should have taken care of Castro when we had the chance, like we did in Guatemala back in '53. And Fidel Castro is actually referenced later in the show when George goes down to Cuba to recruit some baseball prospects. He visits El Presidente. Right. Muy simpatico.
They will play for your Yankees. Alton goes to the bathroom, and I guess he's like, we'll leave a note for Elaine, and then we'll head to the restaurant. And again, what is this, the third, fourth time George is like, all right, let's go. Let's leave.
Yeah.
And there's that great line when, as we quoted earlier, where he's just like, the hell with Elaine, we're dying here. And there's that kind of a weird angle. We get at least one of them every episode where they needed a pickup shot just to tie, a scene together due to a cut. And it's just this weird, kind of low shot angled upward of George saying that, we're dying here. Mm-hmm. And you kind of see the other side of the lobby. I just like pointing those out because they're so unusual to see.
Yeah, they really do stand out.
Mm-hmm.
There's the one of Elaine looking at Jerry in the coffee shop at one point. Mm-hmm. There's this one with George. You're right.
Last week in the baby shower, it was when Jerry sets his bags down and he says, "Well, Leslie, the road less traveled is less traveled for a reason."
There you go.
Yeah, just weird angles. Elaine actually arrives at this point, and do you notice when she comes right through the revolving door, she trips a little bit on the rug?
I did not notice that.
It's really not that noticeable, and I had to rewind it a few times just to make sure I was seeing it right. But yeah, she takes a little trip. She recovers well, though. You wouldn't even notice.
Good.
And she's like, "Where's Dad?"
"He's in the bathroom."
We've said how many great lines there are in this episode. I think this might be the most quoted line.
Oh, hell yeah, it is.
From Seinfeld fans out there.
You posted it on the Facebook page, and that was the first thing somebody commented on was he's in the bathroom.
Yeah, I think that's Alton Bennis' most common quote. We get another awesome Elaine monologue here where she's telling them where she's been. Kramer called her up, and she was supposed to wait for 2 minutes like he promised Jerry and George, and she wound up sitting in his car for 20 minutes. Cop came by, tells her to get out of the car. He's a city marshal. They're towing the car because Kramer owes thousands of dollars in back tickets. This is a little plot point that I think we hear about in future episodes, right?
Yes. So Kramer actually tells this story of having to feed the birds and having the car towed in The Stranded when he's talking to Steve, the guy who refers to himself as Mr. Pocatello.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So there's one. And then in the subway, when Kramer's actually going to pay all his parking tickets.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
This is the reason why. So it's just so rewarding as an audience when you watch one episode and then later on they reference something from a past episode. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that wasn't done a lot back then. No,
it really wasn't. That attention to detail, and even if you ask the most diehard fan about what is Kramer's what's Kramer's B plot in the subway, I don't think most people could tell you that. This idea that this storyline has been tracking all the way from early on in season 2. But anyways, sorry, going on more tangents than usual here. Elaine continues her story and saying, she was standing outside freezing, and Kramer eventually comes down with a giant cage full of doves. He was getting special instructions about the birds' diets, and the two of them are looking for a cab when two of the doves fly out, and they have to go chase them, and God, the story, just like me telling it, is all over the place. But
Elaine makes a wonderful gesture of putting her hands in her trench coat and then waving her hands so that it looks like two birds are flying out of her coat. It's awesome.
yeah, Elaine is so good. I mean, all these characters are great in their own ways, but I think Elaine might be my favorite character of like telling a story. Like what happened.
Yeah.
Again, we haven't reached that point where we can make time for her in these episodes, but at least she has some really funny stories to tell.
So I thought it was very sweet that Elaine still waited around to tell. She has to wait around now to tell Kramer that his car's been towed.
Right. When he came down and she was waiting there freezing, you think that, like, I mean, if that were George, well, God, look at George. He's ready to leave this little meetup with Alton Bennis. He definitely would have left Kramer.
Well, even in later seasons, Elaine would not wait. Remember there's a intro into a show when Elaine and Jerry get to like a restaurant first, and they're standing outside and they're debating how long you wait for someone before you take off, and it depends on how well you know someone. And I think for George it was like 2 minutes. Oh, let's go. And then they leave, and then George comes in right after them. He's like, "Oh, early," So
yeah, that's actually a really good point. This is before Elaine gets incredibly bitter and selfish. She's still got a good head on her shoulders.
Have we said she's adorable in every show? I think we have.
Almost, yeah. We were using "she's so cute" in this episode.
That could be in like a drinking game for those of you that play drinking games.
Yeah. Every time I say or every time Vinny says "cute."
Okay.
All right. Moving on. Elaine, kind of changes the subject, and she's like, "Anyways, how are things here?" And Jerry and George talk about kind of out of character. They're pretty nice to her.
Couldn't be better.
Yeah, they lie for her. I don't know why they can't be honest with her and be like, he's really weird and making us uncomfortable.
I think they realize how flustered she is and how she just had a really long day and the thing with Kramer. And then they probably know the type of relationship she has with her father.
Yeah.
So they want to add to that.
Why make it worse?
This is at the point where the characters, you can tell they care about each other a little bit more than you'll see in later seasons.
Definitely. Jerry kind of tells Elaine, he sort of criticizes her a little bit. He's like, not to get involved with Kramer. But Kramer promised Elaine a lift, which Jerry equates to the lure of the siren song.
Never what it seems to be, but who among us can resist? Where do you come up with this? So Alton shows up. He gives a hug to his daughter. Hi, Dad. Who's the lipstick for?
No one.
How's your mother?
She's good.
Are you working?
And this is the first time we get a mention of Pendant Publishing.
Pendant! Those bastards!
This is the first time we get mention of her job, which is interesting because in earlier drafts of the I think this goes back to the first season, Elaine's occupation was an optician. So interesting that they went in a different direction.
Yeah, I don't know if I see her as being an optician. I like her being involved with literature and reading and working with authors and things like that. That fits her, I think.
Alton says here at this point that they're going to none other than a Pakistani restaurant, which I'm sure this made you think of something.
Babu Bhat.
It'd be so cool if it was Babu's restaurant, but in that episode, right, the cafe, he had just opened it, I think, right?
Yes, but I guess we don't know did he just move here from Pakistan, or is that like did he just open that store?
True. And it wasn't Pakistani, right? At the time, it was kind of like an American cuisine.
It was a dream cafe. They sold everything.
Yeah, the turkey.
The turkey.
This is that. Remember when I mentioned the address to the restaurant, Vinny? Hotel Westbury.
Yes.
Well, it's paying off because the restaurant is on 46th. The hotel's on 69th. And at a point here, Alton says it's only 5 blocks. So
that's not 5 blocks.
That's not accurate. No, that's like 23 blocks. So as they're getting ready to leave, George starts singing "Master of the House" as they walk out. It comes back.
Pipe down, chorus boy.
It's just so good. He's so mean to these characters. But it almost like scares George straight. Like it's like he had hiccups, and Alton kind of just
You're
made
right.
him get rid of him.
He booed him.
Yeah, exactly. It starts to snow outside, and just as we mentioned with Larry David, Jerry gets nervous because he has this suede jacket, which, makes him turn the jacket inside out, and all that setup of the pink stripes pays off because doesn't he look like he's in like a barbershop quartet?
He does, and I think that's very appropriate considering the fictional book that we pontificated over was a quartet of fools or friends.
Look at this.
See how we just came full circle?
Oh, that's great. Let's end on a high note. Good night.
It's like Game of Thrones in here.
Game of Thrones.
I don't know.
And I like it when Jerry turns the jacket inside out. He's so confident.
Yeah.
He points at George.
He's like, good thinking. He gives him a nice point.
And he just walks off. Or confidently towards the door, and Alton stops him. Doesn't he pull him back in or something? Or
he does, and for some reason I think this clip ends up in the Superman montage in the clip show, where it's all the big movement shots of Seinfeld. I think this is one of them. So it made me think of that. Dun, 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 dun. Okay,
we might have to check that out. Yeah, I don't think it shows up in it, but it's such a quick montage. Maybe it made an appearance.
You think that, but you'd be wrong.
Alton tells Jerry, he asks him, what are you wearing? And he's like, you look like a damn fool. You're not going to be walking down the street with him and his daughter dressed like that. And this is the last bit of Alton just really intimidating Jerry, because as we see in the next scene at Jerry's apartment later on, the jacket's hanging up in the shower, completely ruined from the snow. Is that true, though? If you get a suede jacket wet, it'll just completely ruin it?
I think so. I'm not positive, though.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
I mean, I would think if it got... Snow doesn't seem that bad. It would have to be some pretty wet snow.
Yeah.
But yeah, this thing is just absolutely soaked. Jerry's in a Letterman jacket instead.
Before you go on, though, there was a shot that was cut where Jerry had the jacket hung up and he was very upset and he looked very despondent. And we see a close-up of the jacket, and there's water dripping from the sleeve.
Oh, so it'd be more clear at the start.
Yes, and there was a shot that they took that out. And that reminds me of the scene from The Busboy when after Kramer puts the broken piece of the lamp back in, and then they leave. Kramer's like, oh, I got the door. And then they shut the door, and the piece of lamp falls off, and you see that close-up. The piece falls off and then makes that shattering sound on the ground. It kind of reminded me of that same quality. So maybe that's something that was a Tom Sharonis-ism.
Mm-hmm. It's a bit unusual, just having that a cutaway to something that doesn't have any actors in it, like the lamp. Or it kind of reminds me of when the labels in the Label Maker episode peeled off those boxes.
Exactly.
But that made sense because that was plot development, whereas this is more, I guess, aesthetic.
So you got to have one unusual shot of a character in a show from a weird angle, and you got to have a close-up of a inanimate object.
Kramer enters the apartment, and he has to feed the birds. It just makes me think of Fredo with the poor Fredo.
He was weak and stupid,
and he's looking for mini Ritzes, right?
Which I think is hysterical because Elaine mentions earlier, Kramer needed special instructions. Each dove had a special diet, and then after all this trouble he and she went through, Kramer comes into the apartment saying, "Got any mini Ritz?" So he's gonna end up giving all the doves mini Ritzes.
I like that too. That's actually something I didn't observe the first time. I thought I didn't put two and two together because Kramer's always known for coming and asking for food, but I never thought of him feeding the birds that. But speaking of animals, actually, Kramer was originally supposed to have a dove on his shoulder when he entered the scene. Does that seem weird to you? Would it have been real or a fake dove?
I think it would have been real. They probably would have had a trained dove to sit on his shoulder. I don't know. I think that would have been kind of cool. Just in all the scenes we see with Kramer with dogs or with animals, I think they always end up being very funny.
Right. It's tricky though to think of an actual dove on the set.
Yeah,
because it's so unpredictable. But yeah, it would have had a really weird look to it. He wouldn't have been able to move around as much.
And I think at this point we haven't really seen a lot of Kramer's physical comedy yet. He's still just kind of weird and slow. We haven't seen him crash into a door or you know what I mean.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So,
case in point though, we're kind of jumping ahead, but we can kind of condense this portion after podcast. Let's lasted an hour and a half at this point. If he, borrows this jacket or he asks for Jerry's new jacket, it would be kind of tough for him to put it on if there were a dove on his shoulder. So maybe it was simpler to not include it. But Kramer asks, where the new jacket is, and Jerry, head falls down, defeated, points to the bathroom. And Kramer's kind of a jerk here. He's like, "Don't you know what snow does to suede?"
He's not tactful at all when he's talking to Jerry.
Mm-mm.
So there's this scene where he says, "Don't you know what that does to suede?" And then I thought it was very similar to when he shows Jerry the newspaper in the stock tip when Centrax is tanking, and then also in the Ex-Girlfriend when Jerry is mentioning the quandary he's going through with Marlene and George.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like Kramer is reveling in Jerry's misfortune.
No,
but
totally.
yet you can tell that Jerry cares, or that Kramer cares about Jerry, but yet he still enjoys seeing a little bit of pain in his friends for some reason.
Yeah, or he's just
Weird.
he's not aware of it. He's not aware like, hey, your friend's already down. You don't have to kick him.
Yeah.
In addition to it.
Son of a bang.
Elaine enters the scene, and they're talking about going to see a movie later. She gives a sarcastic hello to Kramer, and what does he do? What is that?
He nods and kind of curtsies or something.
Yeah, kind of like this is Kramer dishing a little bit of attitude back at Elaine, I feel.
It reminds me of, oh man, I'm sorry guys, but it reminds me of when Kramer saw Elaine naked,
mm-hmm.
and when they're talking about the clear coffee table,
right?
And he's like, "Hello," and then Elaine goes, "Hello." And he's like, "What's the matter? No, you didn't tell him? No,
Yeah, Kramer saw me naked.
Saw me naked.
No, definitely. There's a bit of just awkwardness between the two of them. Elaine kind of tells Jerry how the night went with her dad, and usually Alton hates everyone, but he liked Jerry, and that he reminded him of someone he knew in Korea. Which
how could anyone not like him?
Yeah, right. Which I guess is I'd rather be reminded of someone who was killed in a horrible way than have someone not like me. I guess at the end of the day, at least he liked you.
Well, and I also think it's like that was the funny guy in his unit in
mm-hmm.
Korea. So this is a funny guy over here. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
he did find him funny.
Now, do you think Alton knows that or knew that Jerry and Elaine dated?
Yes.
You think so?
I would think, yeah.
Yeah. Or at least that's why Jerry was getting a little nervous about meeting his ex-girlfriend's dad.
I'm surprised they could have brought that up to make it even more tense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Although that might have been a conscious decision not to by the writers because they didn't want to keep doing this will they won't they thing that the network execs wanted. Mm-hmm. Who knows?
Good point. Alton, though, thinks that George is gay.
Yes. Why? Because of all the singing?
No, he pretty much thinks everyone is gay. Which, I don't know who added that, but that's such a great... I don't know anyone that thinks everyone is gay, but just kind of that blind sort of assumption or judgment that gay people are all around me, he must be gay. Why are there people out there that think about that constantly? Have some serious issues, I guess. And we get a little bit of here wrapped up with Jerry's jacket, right? Kramer is again suggesting he could take Jerry's old jacket, and he does, right? And we mentioned this at the top of the show. Kramer keeps both jackets, which seems so unfair.
He doesn't even think twice to offer, well, let me give you back your old jacket since I'm going to get you a new jacket,
He kind of reminds me of a child in that sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
He knows what he's doing. He knows he's being a jerk, but maybe he doesn't realize how much of a jerk he's being.
I don't think he even knows he's being a jerk. I think he just says, "Ooh, I get two jackets." I think that's where it stops.
Yeah, maybe.
Although Kramer's not required by any means to give back either of the jackets because Jerry said he could have them.
Mm-hmm.
But I think a well-adjusted person, a non-pod would say, "Oh, you know what? I feel bad for what's happened to you. Let me give you one or both jackets back." I would think.
Yeah. And our last proper scene of the episode is in the car, right? Alton's driving back to Maryland, which
Yes.
Elaine, I guess, set up in the scene prior.
Represent.
Yeah.
Dad's driving back to Maryland, and we find out in season 3 the letter that Elaine is from Towson, Maryland, which is about an hour away from me, going up towards Baltimore.
And she's an Orioles fan.
She is a fan of the Orioles, which we'll also see come to a head soon, in the letter.
And Larry David went to school at the University of Maryland, right?
Yep, he studied history, hence all these great historical references and nods to the Kennedys and whatnot.
And as Alton is driving home, he just sits there, and what is he? You want to give us a little cue, Vinny?
Master of the house, doling out the charm, ready with a handshake and an open arm.
Oh, God.
Thank you.
Your singing is great. Your impressions are great, but it's so weird. Like, Lawrence Tierney does not look like he wants to do this in the scene. He's like, all right, I get a paycheck after this, right?
Maybe that's why he went to go get the aforementioned knife.
Oh yeah, so let's wrap up this episode real quick.
Yeah. Spoilers.
Yeah, spoilers. The last bit is Jerry doing stand-up, and I thought this was interesting. He mentions he had a leather jacket that got ruined, which I feel like is one of the few times like a specific story element shows up in stand-up. Usually it's like just loosely thematically tied together, but I like this bit, and I do kind of, it's cute. I like it when Jerry puts on the Seinfeld voice, where
his signature delivery, yeah.
It raises to a high comedic pitch.
Exactly.
What is
Let us in, we're swayed!
The idea of cows, right? Like, do they freak out when it starts raining because of their, they're made of leather, I guess?
Is it suede? I am suede! We're all wearing leather out here!
Oh, God. Yeah, did you like this little bit of stand-up?
Oh, yeah, I loved it. I liked all the little stand-up pieces. I liked the father one. I liked the beginning one with the V-stripe silver suit. And this one I thought was great. They were nice little concise stand-up bits, but I liked them all.
Yeah, this just all in all, this just felt like a really tight episode. There wasn't any like lingering, like either like plot elements or just storylines that didn't work for me. Everything just worked together very well, I thought, especially for an episode that took place like half in Jerry's apartment, half in a hotel lobby.
Yeah.
All right, now that we've painstakingly gone through every single beat of this episode, I figured we could talk a little bit about Lawrence Tierney behind the scenes and why this character never showed up again on the show. Vinny, you don't really miss him, right? On the other hand, I kind of would have liked to have seen him again.
Yeah.
You've got a little bit of behind the scenes stuff here. You can talk to us, right, about how he behaved on stage.
Yes, so as Matt said earlier, Lawrence Tierney was known for playing these really tough guys, really gruff, just intimidating guys, and that's probably why Larry David brought him in to play this intimidating father figure to mirror that situation Larry had while he was dating Monica Yates, meeting Richard Yates, her father. And as I said earlier as well, the camera crew was laughing at his jokes. He didn't find it amusing. It was uncomfortable, and it had to be explained to him that laughter was a good thing. But everybody was scared of Lawrence Tierney on set, and Julia Louis-Dreyfus described him as a total nut job. She said he was a wonderful actor, but she even said the words cuckoo. He was a little cuckoo because we would have had him back otherwise. So there was this one day on set, Lawrence Tierney was on Jerry's apartment set, and he was by the kitchen, and he pulled a butcher knife out of the block of knives on Jerry's kitchen counter, and he put the butcher knife in his pocket and closed it. And everybody's looking at each other, and they're like, "Did that just happen?" And Julia, Michael, Jason, they're like, nobody's gonna go up to him and ask this nutty guy, what'd you just do? Of course, Jerry just has no, not shame, but Jerry's Jerry, and he's gonna go up to you. And
it's weird, right? He's got to say something. He's the
right.
He's a writer, a producer,
I
believe.
I feel like Jerry's not embarrassed. Like, he doesn't ever get embarrassed to go through like this awkwardness. It doesn't embarrass him.
He's probably been through a lot of that when he performs on stage, right? He he has that I don't know, like courage. I don't know if that's the right word, but.
But he goes right up to Lawrence and he says, "Hey, what's with the knife?" And Lawrence, being caught red-handed, takes the knife out and tries to make a joke out of it. And he makes the psycho stabbing motion as well as the the psycho sound, the as he advances onto Jerry, and at that moment, everybody's looking at each other, and Jason, and I always screw this up, so you say it. What does Jason say?
He says something like, "We're in really scary territory." Like he said, "The land of the sick," which I don't
There you
get.
go.
Like,
Well, I think Hollywood, everybody being a little bit nutty. That's kind of what I interpreted it as.
oh, okay.
So, yeah, that's. I don't think there's ever going to be another a guest star on Seinfeld who tries to take out one of the main characters. And the funny thing about that was Larry David actually used this as a tool to jokingly threaten Tom Sharonis, the director, because he said, "Hey, Tom, if you don't behave yourself, I'm going to have Lawrence Tierney back here." Because as we said earlier, Tom Sharonis was quite frightened of Lawrence Tierney.
Yeah, I can't say this enough. It's a real shame that Lawrence was just a bit off, to put it lightly, and things had to go down this way because if he didn't, he would have been back. He probably wouldn't have been as probably popular as like Morty or
yeah.
Frank. Yeah, maybe not even as popular as Uncle Leo, but you could have just seen like we were talking earlier. You could have seen like him with a scene with Kramer, or I don't know, maybe seen like a softer side of this character if they were able to break the Lawrence Tierney exterior.
Yeah,
but
through that thick exterior. One thing we forgot to touch on was we met Elaine's father. We've never met Elaine's mother, and it would have been wonderful to meet who was Elaine's mother.
There was a note on the DVD that Julia actually wanted Mary Tyler Moore to play her mother. But as you mentioned, the character was never introduced to the series, and I've actually never thought about that, like who could have played Elaine's parents, or at least her mother. And I think that's perfect, the idea of like one of the most famous sitcom characters of all time playing the mother of another famous sitcom character. And it would have been kind of cool to see like Mary Tyler Moore kind of like work off of Lawrence Tierney, I think. It's weird to kind of picture it, but I think it could have worked. Do you have a better casting idea?
Well, I actually disagree because, like, if you think about if they had brought in Mary Tyler Moore at this period of Seinfeld when it was still relatively unknown, and we're still kind of getting to know these actors as well as these characters, but then you bring on this iconic TV figure, like, I feel like Mary Tyler Moore would have stood out like a sore thumb, and you wouldn't have seen Mrs. Bennis. You would have seen Mary Tyler Moore, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, totally.
You would have seen the actor rather than a character. So I would have wanted somebody that like wasn't as iconic. Having said that, the person that came to mind when I thought of like who would I want to see play Elaine's mom was I was thinking of somebody like Anne Margaret, the character that she played in Grumpy Old Men, like really warm, really sweet, really into art, really getting people out of their shells. I could see that being Elaine's mother, and that's where she gets that nice side to her, the cute side that we love. And then having contrast that with Lawrence Tierney, that would have like really been a nice polar opposite kind of thing. So that I would go with her.
I never would have thought of Anne Margaret, but that's just thinking on a just like a visual level. I really like that, and she actually kind of looks like Julia Louis-Dreyfus a little bit.
Well, I like Anne Margaret as well.
I thought you were in the Grumpy Old Men universe. I thought you were Sophia Loren.
Young Sophia Loren. No, I love both of those. I think they're awesome. They're beautiful women, and they're hysterical in that movie. But it's hard to pick. I think oh God, this is the Italian in me. Like, of course I love Sophia Loren, but Anne Margaret is so sweet.
Yeah.
They're both great.
Yeah,
why do I have to choose?
Welcome to the Grumpy Old Men podcast. I think actually, yeah, it's appropriate. We had quite a grumpy old man in this episode, so why not, pair her with? I think she was with Jack Lemmon in those movies, right?
She was.
Yeah, either way, whether it was Anne Margaret, Mary Tyler Moore, I think both of those would have been great. It's kind of a shame that we never got into Elaine's family. I don't know if they do this on most sitcoms nowadays, but sometimes you get a little too deep into characters' lives where it's like, oh, this is my mother, this is my mother, this is my father, this is my sister.
Nice.
But it would have been nice at one point in this episode, even if it were just the finale, to have the Seinfelds, the Costanzas, is it the Bennises and Babs Kramer all together.
We've never met Kramer's father either.
That is, speaking of characters we never see, I hope we never meet Kramer, or we don't, but I'm glad that we never...
Are they redoing the show? Do I not know about this?
Right, yeah. Ryan Stiles will be playing Kramer's father.
There you go.
I like that Kramer's father is a mystery, you know.
Yeah.
The less we know about Kramer's life and his friends, the better, I think.
And then, well, we'll go over this when we talk about the reveal of Kramer's name, but the writers talk about how part of Kramer's allure and his mystique was kind of a little part of that died that day when they released his name.
Yeah.
And even in the scene when they reveal it, you can see Michael is almost he plays it as if he's a little bit embarrassed. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that way too. Like, I mean, we'll talk about the name reveal later on. Let's save that for a future.
Let's just go right into that episode.
No. Let's skip 7 seasons ahead.
Yeah. Well, just in closing, I guess we've been going on long enough here. We can just say all in all that we're probably coming at this from different point of views. I really like this episode. I've already said that. I think this is, if I can jump ahead, I think this is one of the top 3 best episodes this season. All in all, as the series goes, I think this is maybe not a landmark episode, one that I would, show to someone who just started this series for the first time. But I think there's some great lines in this. I think from a writing standpoint, I think this episode is really tight. I think it flows really well. I don't feel like any character really was overlooked. Maybe Kramer was underused a little bit, but he still had enough screen presence, and he was mentioned enough when he wasn't around that I didn't miss him as much as I have in past episodes. And again, I'll go on the record. Lawrence Tierney was fantastic, and I would actually say that he is one of my favorite, let's call them single-shot characters, characters that have only shown up once. I think he is probably in my top 10. I think he's really funny, really memorable, and it's just a shame we didn't get to see more of him, but...
That's a bold statement.
Oh, I guess I have to give this ratings, right? This might be my highest rating yet. I'm going to give this 8 stolen butcher knives out of 10.
Hey, that's my line. I like that. I also like the pull you're pulling from trivia for the rating this week versus the show, which is nice. Yeah. So is that the show? Are we done?
No, you have to give your.
I gotta give
quick
mine?
Review and your rating. If you don't,
I hate this part. I'm kidding. I after if we can speak frankly, after going through this a second and almost third time.
I guess for the record, because we haven't mentioned it yet, we recorded this episode already, and then I lost the file, and we had to re-record it. So this might be showing up hopefully on time, but sorry if our energy is a little low. It's tough to do, about 2 hours of talking twice. But overall, and I look at these more. You're much more analytical, and I think with because you have a background in film. I'm more critical. I don't think I'm very analytical.
No, but you're very good at perceiving flow, and I'm looking at it more as just a fan and like, ooh, we met the father today. You're looking at pacing and all this other stuff. But the more and more we've talked about it, I have enjoyed this episode, and I think it does have some like iconic quotes in it, and we met Elaine's father, which I always, we finally got to see what he's like. But and I think what I really like is that this story is pulled from Larry's real life verbatim, and anything that Larry David will put into an episode of Seinfeld, I'm gonna be all over. So I think I'm gonna steal your rating this week, and I'm gonna give it 8 silver suits with the V stripe and boots out of 10.
Nice job, man. I like it. I think this is the first time we've agreed on a rating.
Yeah.
Maybe, and I'm not sure.
Yeah. I don't know how meaningful these ratings are, but yeah, go for it.
Well, who knows? They might disappear one day, but I think we'll keep them up as long as it doesn't get too ridiculous. So that's going to do it for us at Seincast. We'd love to hear from you, as always, how you became a Seinfeld fan, what you think of our show. If you'd like to get in touch with us, you can email us at seincast@gmail.com. Also, please like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter at Seincast, where you can find a lot of just weekly posts about trivia and behind-the-scenes photos and whatnot.
We're also on iTunes, which is where most people can download us, or your other podcast provider. So if you have some time, feel free and leave us a review. Leave us things you like about the show, what you don't like about the show. Because, yeah, we're trying to reach as many Seinfeld fans as possible, I think. But actually, I got to be honest, I am I'm loving getting emails from people, and they're giving us such nice feedback. And every time I read one, I'm like, oh, good for them. You know, like I'm just really like it. You know, warms my heart to read. So, thank you guys for sending us emails. I really look forward to reading them.
Yeah, there's something about like I don't know when you like are a Seinfeld fan and there's no one like in your immediate area that you can meet up with and talk Seinfeld with. It's very like it's a lonely feeling. I don't know if any of our listeners feel that way, but.
There's nobody in DC that likes Seinfeld as much as me, and now I'm outsourcing it to you guys. So thank you.
Yeah, it's really great to hear from fellow fans and just share our love of the show, even if it's just us talking about it and you guys listening. It's nice to have that connection. So yeah, for sure. And with that note, I think this is going to be our last episode, Vinny. We're closing up shop.
That's it. No more.
No, we've got quite a few episodes left to cover, such as next week's episode. It's a big one, maybe our biggest one yet. The 6th episode of the 2nd season, The Chinese Restaurant.
Oh, interesting. Any idea how long that episode might take?
5-10 minutes, I think. But for now, I'm Matt.
I'm Vinny.
Signing off. Seincast is not endorsed by Castle Rock Entertainment, Sony Pictures, or NBC, and is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. The official Seinfeld site can be found at sonypictures.com/TV/Seinfeld. Seinfeld, the Seinfeld logo, and all names, pictures, and audio of Seinfeld characters are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of Castle Rock Entertainment, or their respective trademark and copyright holders.
Which one's supposed to be the funny guy?
Oh, he's the comedian.
I'm just a regular person.
No, he's just being modest.
We had a funny guy with us in Korea. Tail gunner. They blew his brains out all over the Pacific. There's nothing funny about that.